that's the fun part for us. Like for me, I don't know, like you like that's my time where it's like I don't care what else is happening in my life. I don't care what I've been thinking about, like what happened today, what did we go through. Like when you're on stage, that's like an allotted 60, 90, whatever minutes where like I don't need to be bothered by anything else. I'm just here playing guitar with these people in front of me, and it's freaking fun.
So here we are, Weird Music Podcast with Matt from TAUK. So excited to see you guys at Resonance coming up. TAUK's going to be playing 2 sets, set of originals Thursday at 7, and Talking Wonder, Stevie Wonder set, Friday at 3:30. So starting this off, you know, to me, TAUK is like a Resonance staple. I remember that Talking Beatles set from a few years ago. And like my first question, what about Resonance do you think causes it to stand apart from other festivals, and how come TAUK always seems to go like above and beyond at Resonance?
I don't know what it is. There's something in the water, I guess. I don't know what it is, but every time we're at Resonance, I don't know, there's just a good energy there. The fans bring a great energy to the festival. There's always a really cool lineup, so it's always like it's one of those lineups where it seems to be just a lot of bands that we cross paths with. So you're running into friends, bands you haven't seen in a while, and you're all there together. Yeah, I mean, I remember that Talking Beatles set too. I think that might have been one of the first like talking things we did. We did like the Talking McGee things, but that was like one of the cover sets. It might have been the first one if I remember correctly. So they presented us with the idea of doing a cover set, so we picked the Beatles, and it was really fun. I think for the people who were there in the tent, like there's video of it. It was a special set. And like, you know, now we're continuing to do that kind of thing with different artists here and there. But yeah, every time we go to Resonance, it's a great time. So we're pumped.
Yeah, definitely like top of my list of favorite festivals. I remember those sick Beatle wigs you guys had on.
Yeah,
I don't know if they stayed
the
on.
going.
The tent was hot. I think you guys it got a little too steamy for those part of the way.
I think I ditched the wig for sure at some point. I think if you watch the set, there's like the first songs we got wigs on, and then yeah, we give up.
So stepping to the side here a little bit. I know like a lot of TAUK fans, you know, the people who listen to this podcast, they're also artists of different kinds, like some earlier on in their journey than others. So I'd love for you to kind of take us back to that time in your life when you were first like getting acquainted with the guitar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's going way back for me. I grew up in a household with 3 brothers, and my parents are very musical. My dad he actually played accordion back in the day. But growing up, he didn't really play that much, but just an avid lover of music. And my mom had me and my brothers just picking up instruments from a young age. So I remember super young trying out the violin for a little bit. My older brother plays violin. He's really great. And I picked it up, and I feel like it just wasn't my thing. And so I don't even remember specifically what happened, but somehow I ended up with a guitar in my hand and started off on classical guitar, and it just felt right. And I kind of just fell in love with it. And I just became obsessed with it and just played and played. And, you know, eventually got an electric guitar. I distinctly remember like listening to Hendrix Are You Experienced for the first time and being like, what, you can do that with the guitar? And it was just always kind of just part of what I did. It was always a part of my life. I just fell in love with it. So yeah, from early on, just, I don't know, there was something about what it felt like in my hands and just the ability to create with it and explore it. And, you know, fast forward, I don't know, 20 something years, and I'm still learning how to make different sounds. I'm still learning. It's like this endless exploration. And it's like, it's been a lifetime of love with that instrument.
So, you know, going from really falling in love with it to then like dedicating your whole career to it, like, did you feel like a sense of risk involved with that? Like, did you ever have like some sort of plan B? Like, what was the decision like to fully commit your life then to, you know, this craft?
It's funny. I feel like I've always just known, like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I don't care what else happens. Like, this is what I want to do with my life. You know, it's never really been a question. I've never really reconsidered it. I've never really thought about doing anything else. So that being said, there's not really a plan B in place. It's kind of like, let's keep doing this thing until it's I don't know. It's never gonna end. But yeah, I mean, inherently with any career, but specifically a music career, there's always some sort of risk. And there kind of should be. There's no guarantees. You got to stay on top of your game. You got to stay creative. You got to keep like exploring and putting stuff out and writing songs and learning how to get better. That's part of what it is. There's definitely a part luck with that. And I think I was very lucky to grow up with Charlie and AC from a young age. So it's kind of a unique experience for me growing up, where we formed a band, when we started playing music when we were in like middle school. So we've been doing this together, as a unit for such a long time. So I think I feel very fortunate to have lived my life with my closest friends doing the same thing. And part of that, I think, takes the risk feeling away, like, because you're in it kind of together with someone else. So I feel very fortunate to have experienced that. We're still like, there's still always a risk. Like, this could fall apart at any time. Like, you never know what a year from now holds. But, I don't think that really deters us in any way.
So like you mentioned, like, exploration, it's really exploring the instrument. And, in any creative discipline, it ebbs and flows. Like, we get these patterns, and then the patterns become almost like not mundane, but kind of routine. Like the novelty of it can kind of wear off. Like, so from your perspective, writing songs, performing, how do you feel like, you orient your guys' selves as a band to help each other out of those ruts and to stay out of feeling like anything is like some sort of monotonous pattern or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's something that every musician goes through, feeling those ruts of like, man, like, how do I feel like I've plateaued here. Like, I got to this level. I'm always playing the same scales. I'm playing the same chords. Like, what else is there? Is there something else? And then you listen to some other players and like, I'll never be that good or whatever. But that's part of the journey. And it's, you just kind of, when you get in those ruts, you just kind of got to power through and just figure out ways to, I don't know, get yourself thinking outside of those boxes. Cause I think, when you play for so long, there's definitely habits you develop, and you need to just kind of become aware of them and then be like, okay, what is this thing? This is like my safe go-to thing. How about I like don't do that for a while? I force myself out of that. And that can be, you can draw inspiration from so many other things, from other musicians, like picking up some different music books and reading about some different scales or different techniques, things that you haven't learned yet, or just listening to different music and trying to learn that, just drawing in. There's like an endless well of inspiration, especially these days with the internet and YouTube. So, those ruts are definitely normal, but there's definitely ways out of them. And then definitely when it comes to the band, we always push each other and we push ourselves, to try different things. As a band, you can feel like you get in those ruts sometimes, and you just kind of got to like talk about it and be aware of it and be like, okay, like, it feels like we're kind of on autopilot right now. How do we shake things up? How do we do something different? So you kind of got to make a conscious effort to do that. And I think, for us, the pandemic provided like an opportunity to like step off of the road, which really shook things up for everybody. And I think for us, we definitely took it as an opportunity to be like, okay, we have this time off from touring. Like, hopefully we never get this much time off again, but how can we use this positively? So everyone kind of like went into the shop. We were all writing, all trying different things. And, when we were finally able to get back together, we had just like 30 plus new songs that everyone had been sending around on the internet, just tons of different ideas. We have this new album coming out. That's like the first just of that huge group of songs. That was like the ones we picked to focus on first. And now we have all these other new ones. And it's felt like we have these songs that are trying new things out. We're going to try some new things live. Like, I got really into Ableton over the pandemic. So we're going to start incorporating that into some live stuff. So playing with tracks and syncing up instruments to each other through clock. And so, yeah, we're always searching. There's always searching. And it's like, that's what's fun about it. It's like twist knobs, like make weird noises and see what happens and see what sticks. That's like part of the fun of it.
I love how so many of like all of our favorite bands in the scene like have used, and not just bands, like people have used this adversity of the pandemic totally to like, whether it's rediscover something or just as an opportunity to build the ability to like overcome adversity. You're no stranger to all the trials and tribulations of like being a touring musician. And then, this insane lockdown happens. What do you think the adversity of playing music professionally has like done to shape you as a person and has taught you about life and like prepared you for things like beyond the stage?
Yeah. Wow. That's a great question. I mean, it's crazy because it's like, it's the life I've lived. And I feel very fortunate, to have been it's taught me so much. There's parts of it individually and parts of it like as a band, as a group, and just like being in this thing together where we get to travel on the road, we get to meet people from all over the country. So just that in and of itself just teaches you so much about just getting to meet people and hear people's different stories as you tour, and just experience different places, and try to get out there and connect with people. And then just, like the adversity is definitely the thing that it gets you through. There's been so many times early on, even to this day, it's like there's always something that goes wrong on tour. And it's like the mindset is never we're missing a show. That's like we're like, we can't do that. No matter what happens, if the van breaks down, if gear's broken, whatever happens, it's like you keep going. You get to the show, you make it happen. Like, and it's always kind of like feels like a reward, especially when you get thrown for a loop this way or that way. You just band together, everyone pitches in, they do their part, and you make sure you get things done. And I think like that's a huge lesson of just like, don't give up. Like you might be on top of the world one day and everything's going great. You have a great week of tour. The shows were great. The crowds were great. And then all it could take is one show where you feel like something's off. The crowd wasn't as good, whatever. And it's like, okay, I feel down, but let's make it better. Let's get to the show tomorrow and improve. And eventually like things start to build up. It might be like a slow course of time. For us, it's been like a slow build, and we're still working on it, And so that's, I think, one of the biggest lessons is just like, keep moving forward, keep doing it. Don't get stuck. Don't feel like you're not on the right path. Like as long as you're trying to improve and you're still putting the work in, good things will eventually happen.
Yeah, I feel like especially not only dealing with all that adversity, but then having to be up in front of hundreds of people, like bearing your soul on stage, like you've definitely got to have like emotional blinders to like just like a pitcher in baseball that just gets
That's the fun
rocked.
part. That's the fun part for us. Like for me, I don't know, like you like that's my time where it's like I don't care what else is happening in my life. I don't care what I've been thinking about, like what happened today, what did we go through? Like when you're on stage, that's like an allotted 60, 90, whatever minutes where like I don't need to be bothered by anything else. I'm just here playing guitar with these people in front of me, and it's freaking fun.
We've spoken a little bit about risk, and with improvising, there's so much risk involved. It takes such cohesiveness and listening, alertness, like getting out of the way, but still, being there, being present, like making everyone around you better. What's your mindset like going into an improvisation? And do you think principles of improvisation can like bleed into other areas of life and apply to life itself, and just like how to be a better person, whether it's with sports, with painting, with being a friend, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely know what you're saying. It definitely, all of that applies, especially when we're improvising in the band context, it's like part of it's basically, I think of it as like having a conversation, like for the four of us, we're talking to each other. We kind of all speak this same musical language. And it's like, if Isaac does something on the drums, it's my job as a fellow musician, as a friend, as a person, to listen to what he's saying and respond to it, and to be open-minded to like, I might want to say something on guitar, but then like if AC plays something and I'm like, you know what, maybe that's not the right thing to say right now. Like just being open-minded to seeing where the thing takes you. And it's like, it's the same thing as, you and I having a discussion right now. It's like the way I think of music, it's like, I know all these scales, I know these chords, I know these sounds, but there's an appropriate time to play them based on like the context of what's happening. It's like you and I both know thousands of words, but we're not just going to say them all right now. We're going to listen to what we're saying and we're going to see where it takes us. And I think that, that applies musically as as it does to life in a way.
I love that. I love that. So my last question, like with TAUK's music specifically, there's this super awesome balance between like evil destruction and then like dancing, like light groovy vibes. And I'm curious to hear your take on this, like what the thinking is within your guys' camp is about how these two feels, and maybe there's other feels that I'm like kind of forgetting to mention, but specifically with like that heavy like destruction sound, and then that really awesome, the lights change to like turquoise coral color and it's like super dancey. How do those two feels complement each other, and why are like A plus B such a recipe for success used right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few things for us, like compositionally speaking, there's kind of like no rules. We're an instrumental band. Like we just try writing these weird songs that don't necessarily always follow like a formula or anything like that. So there's really like, I don't know what the reason is why certain things go with certain things, but for us, when we're playing together, we know when it feels good. We know when you put this section of a song and you put in this part, something about it feels good. Sometimes I think like contrast helps a lot. Sometimes when you have those really heavy parts and it's like, and then you're like getting overwhelmed and then it busts into this like dancey thing. All of a sudden that dancey thing feels way better than if it was just coming from something else happening before it. So there's these weird like balances of them playing off each other. I mean, for us, it's like, I think all the guys in the band kind of have somewhat different musical tastes, definitely some similarities too. So everything's on the table when we're writing songs or jamming or whatever it is. It's like Isaac might bring like a certain swag to a song, I might bring that like heavy, like, and that's like the best thing about music is like, it takes you to these different places. And it's like, like the Bob Marley thing, like the best thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain. Like you can like get as heavy as possible. It's not hurting anyone. It's like, yeah. So I don't know, exploring all those territories as a band and like having no rules of like, well, you can't put this kind of thing with this kind of thing. Like, but what if you do put them together? What does that feel like? If it feels good, it feels good. And we just go with it.
I love it. Yeah. Like as a fan being in the crowd for like a very well executed like tension and release, it feels like implosion almost.
Right. Yeah, you gotta like, there's gotta be some dips. It's gotta be a story with some, you don't want to tell this story, you want to tell this story.
I love it. Well, Matt, man, I'm so excited to you mentioned those 30 songs you guys wrote during the pandemic. Can't wait to hear them when they're out. Can't wait for you guys' sets at Resonance. Anything you want to leave all the fans off with? Anything they should be excited about other than this Talking Wonder set and this 2 sets of TAUK?
Yeah, we got the Talking Wonder we're stoked for. We got the original set. We have all these new songs. We have the album Chaos Companion dropping later this month. So keep an eye out for that. We've already released a few of the songs. And then we got fall tour coming up not soon after Resonance. So we're stoked to get out there and just play some shows finally.
Fuck yeah. And check out those music videos. If you're out there listening, there's some pretty cool, starting to Sammy from Turquoise. Pretty funny with the big head.
Shout out to Sammy, Danny Barberi for directing the first 2. Sophia Conger directed the last one that we did in Brooklyn Bowl. Yeah, we just had fun with them. We hope that people have fun watching because that's kind of the main idea.
For sure. I know I did. Well, this has been the Weird Music Podcast. Shout out to TAUK. So excited to see them at Resonance. And yeah, stay weird, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. Shout out to the sponsor, SEM Tickets. We love y'all. We'll see you real soon.